This structure, this fixture in the sun, the solar anvil, has been there stationary for at least 5 years that they know of. And actually, it's always been there. A system that is going through what this system is going through, you'll have the EMVs managing the star, and you will have the solar anvil. There was a CME, 2 CMEs in a row that shot out directly at it. What you're seeing in this, you see little sparkles. Here's something else. You see a channel, an almost energy-free channel between the solar anvil and the sun that divides the heat streams. And you see the CME is continuing. It shows that this object, the solar anvil, is interacting with these CMEs, that it's able to focus. You see a coronal mass ejection, or what amounts to a very, very enormous flare, going directly at the structure and proceeding out behind it, which shows you definably that this is being inundated with a great deal of energy. And then the CMEs that you know are CMEs because of their enormity are going above and below it, and then you have a channel directly from the sun to the object that is relatively an energy-free field. Nobody's ever put anything like this together before, where you see a progress and you see a duration and you see a steadiness to anything like this. And it starts out going directly at the structure, and then it goes above and below it. And directly between the sun and the solar anvil, there's an alley of inactivity. These are more than flares, because you have not just a CME here, you have one being beamed, the actual stream of it that's going on. You have a beamed CME that's heading out above it. There's a relationship, there's something going on between the solar anvil and the sun, and that it has things to do with the way in which energy is being expelled, that there is some form of either communication or interaction that is tremendous. You've got a structure not only that can persist in the proximity of the sun, you know that there is an interaction between the sun and the structure. That's because of the changes, the variances. And it's like, the sun is aware of the solar anvil, is aware of the sun. What's amazing here is that just look at the enormity of that ejection. That enormity of the ejection is 2/3 the size of the sun itself. Now, the size of the solar anvil would depend on how far out it is, and it's not that far out. So actually, we're talking about something that's more like 1/10 the size of the sun. But still, that's about 100 times the size of all the planets in our solar system put together. Actually, solar anvil has 2 meanings, and both meanings are suited to the function of this fixture in the sun. It could also be looked at as an anvil, like a heel stone or the lever for a fulcrum. Solar dynamics. A talented friend, kindly generous with his time, has put together images of the sun taken at each hour over the period of the last month and a half. He did this in order to better understand my claims on the Kevin Smith Show that an enormous object, now acknowledged in proximity with the sun, is not only fixed in position there, but operating in an interaction with the sun to accomplish certain dynamics only possible to a technology far beyond that of any planetary civilization. These features become very important to discussions today as we see an errant drift of mindset being fostered more and more to portray an hostile ET presence as virtually inevitable. That this is absurd in any context, historical or present, as a matter of common sense, is being lost more and more to the drumbeat of steady media repetition. In dredging up myth, superstition, and the remnants of poorly developed logic among Western science fiction writers, an underlying theme of this inevitability has already been implanted. Still, it is no less absurd and fostered and promoted on a vast scale simply because it has a designed agenda behind it. Now, instead of manufactured terrorism and attacks on national sovereignty on Earth, to engineer the ages-old device of war upon people in order to deny them more personal freedoms and better means of financial sustainment, the stage is set to bring an end to all social contracts based on the advances, cultural and technological, mankind has achieved on Earth in the last 300 years to win an equality among levels of society for the individual. The fear-driven agenda of a hostile ET threat has been developed as the ultimate false flag operation to do just this. Just as we were led to believe that nations must form alliances under détente in order to escape certain destruction from the imposed threat of a hydrogen bomb, and that nations must combine on the same basis to afford advancing space exploration, we will be taught combating this new alien threat will require a nationless new world order, already set up as a feudal corporate police state. We already see evidence of this as corporations like BP are allowed to police their own catastrophic environmental holocaust in the Gulf of Mexico instead of the EPA and Coast Guard, and Monsanto is allowed to confine food production to corporate control with laws that prohibit non-hybrid seed. These trends are not justified by any external threat, but are part of a growingly apparent agenda around what lays behind the false flag fabrication of one, world dominance by an elite that has long lost its way morally and in any context appropriate to evolutionary advance. At this stage of crucial decision-making, it is important to view certain dynamics in a perspective long denied the people of this planet. For all to see that the design and nature governing all things on the astrophysical plane have both order and design shared in common knowledge by all civilizations that advance beyond the point at which the people of Earth now near. Why, dearest fellow children of the universe, you have nothing to fear from those part and parcel to these dynamics. View what you see as but an example of what is possible when people survive their own technology and share it without constraints of any lords and masters.